The early adventures are on sale, a range that me and Luke absolutely adore. It's a range that is very much mimicking the missing episode soundtrack with linking narration, and it is one of the most hidden gem ranges Big Finish have, and we're here to give you some recommendations from this wonderful range.
And we're kicking off with the release that kicked the early adventures itself off, Domain of the Vords. Back in September 2014, this release came out. It stars William Russell as Ian Chesterton and the Doctor, and then Carol Ann Ford playing both Susan and Barbara. But they're very much playing their TV roles primarily, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And certainly the story is leaning into that much more. It's not quite as full on in terms of a recast as some of the later series in this range get to. Uh, but it does a very good job of making use of the fact that cast members used to go on holiday
Hmm.
during these early recordings. And so, for a lot of the story where the Doctor and Barbara are absent, it's sort of treated as if this is a time where William Hartnell and Jacqueline Hill were on holiday for this story, which, adds a nice little bit of extra period detail, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah, and I think this story is very rich. It's very bold and action orientated with the start with sort of this sort of sea convoy getting attacked by Vord submarines and what this story does with the Vord and their culture and how they initiate their, people to become Vord with their masks, and that's quite dark and quite gruesome when you learn what's underneath the helmet of a Vord.
Yeah,
Because
it
it
really is about the Vord themselves, isn't it? And
yes,
exploring that culture a lot more and introducing them properly as a villain because there wasn't much to them on
no,
screen
they were more
in Keys of
comical, weren't they?
Marinus. Yeah, they were there for the slapstick. They're only in episodes 1 and 6 of the story, and even then, don't really make much impact. They're not quite the replacement for the Daleks that maybe people were getting their hopes up for when they saw Terry Nation had created another monster. And so this story attempts to redeem that somewhat and sort of says, oh, let's still keep them very 60s, but have a different kind of 60s inspiration behind them than the Daleks had.
Another sort of 60s inspiration with this range is the historicals. And
Hmm.
we have a pure historical, which is the Ravelli conspiracy from series 3 with Stephen and Vicky.
Yeah, and what a wonderful duo they are, making up a trio with Peter Purvis doubling up as the Doctor as well. And he does a wonderful job as the first Doctor. And I think it's really with him as the Doctor that this range comes alive, particularly when he's paired up with Maureen O'Brien. Very much captures what they had going for them in the Time Meddler. It's taken that energy and running with it a lot further. And this story in particular, I love for that. And, the wit that this one
It's a sort of
has.
a dark comedy, isn't it?
Mm,
Because you've got the
yeah.
Doctor teaming up with Niccolo Machiavellian, and then you've got one of the popes in it. Is it Pope Leo? I think from the top of my head.
Yeah, Pope Leo the 10th.
Um,
Yeah. All set in Florence in Italy back in 1514.
hmm.
Uh, it's just a darn good romp, really. And yeah, so it keeps you guessing throughout. And yeah, I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it, particularly now that the weather's getting better as well. I think this is a nice
Summer.
summer eve, like late summer evening as
Hmm.
well. Yeah, like, we're not quite at summer yet, but certainly sitting outside, enjoying the warm weather, feeling the sun on your face. It's like a mini holiday going to Florence. Uh, yeah, I think
But
it very
60
much
style.
suits that vibe. Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly 60s style. And I mean, 60s style with a twist here. our next recommendation is the Sontarans.
Hmm.
Sontarans aren't 60s villains, I hear you say. Well, this story takes them and tells you the Doctor's very first encounter with the alien race. We've got a full review of this one out on our channel. And yeah, I recommend you check that out if you want to know more, or just go pick it up for yourself because
Hmm.
it definitely is worth your time.
Slap bang in the middle of Dalek's master plan. It's an action movie, and it's utterly brilliant. And another one we're going to quickly cover, which is Dalek Occupation of Winter. We've reviewed this one as well. One of the best First Doctor Dalek stories out there.
Mhm.
Again, check out our full review on that one as well, because it does something very different with the Daleks. And again, a great story for this TARDIS team, because this series of early adventures has a sort of mini arc, which leads us to our next recommendation.
Yeah, an ideal world is next up. This is story 2 of 4 in series 5. And I think it's my favorite of the 4. It really is a strong story about this trio being thrown into a world that is very hostile, very alien as well. There's some people trying to settle on it, but this planet might have other ideas about that. And I think there's some very creepy moments within this
Mhm.
as it goes on.
It's a story about survival versus ethics.
Mm, yeah. It's very much looking at what will it be like exploring the galaxy, finding suitable worlds to inhabit in the future, and what might come with that. Yeah, and I think very 60s again, very rich. And I mean, this whole series is brilliant. I think, it certainly starts off very strong with Dalek Occupation and An Ideal World. Those are certainly the two highlights. But if you enjoy them, it's certainly worth carrying on with Enlightenment and Crash of UK 201 also.
We're moving into the second Doctor with his first early adventure, the Yes Men.
This one goes back to season 4 territory with Jamie, uh, Polly, and Ben here. And Ben has a rather wonderful recast in the form of Elliot Chapman, who does such a brilliant job. He's
So
a
good.
slightly underserved in this one, you might find, because it wasn't written with the intention of it being a recast. It was written with the idea that Fraser would do it. And so it was sort of underdone for that, just so that he doesn't have too much to do, because he's also not just doing Jamie, but the second Doctor as well, which he does wonderfully throughout all the second Doctor early adventures. It's him, and it makes perfect sense that he would do such a good Troughton because he knew the man, he worked with him so long, and he really captures that raspy quality that he had. And certainly the more, you know, the thinking Troughton, I suppose, when
Hmm.
he's doing his pondering, you can imagine the hand movements that go along with this. He does a lot, little coughs and things as well that just
Yes.
sort of deceive you into thinking it's the man himself. But yeah, the Yes Man is wonderfully 60/50s. You can sort of
It's
tell
a
just
B
by looking at the
movie, isn't it?
cover. Yeah,
It's a
it's
murder mystery.
a bit Art Deco, going very full on, like more than they could have done on TV, which is one of the aims of audio, really. And it's just a political thriller with robots. Also worth your time is another bit of a political thriller one here. The Outliers, set on an asteroid, same TARDIS crew again, where they are hollowing it out to make little houses in these underground caverns. But there's something in the water snatching people away, and it turns out a lot of people are going missing.
It's 60s Doctor Who does Jaws, and the atmosphere for this story is so rich and unsettling with these sort of flooded suburban streets. Just for
You
sound
can hear the
design,
damp.
yeah, you can hear the dripping water and just what is underneath the surface of the water, what is lurking there. And I think that's a great mystery to play around in. And episode three, again, it's Doctor Light. But what it does, it makes of the 10th anniversary Radio Times photo shoot canon with Annika Wills and Michael Craze and the Cyberman on a beach canon. So that's quite a
Yeah, it has a
nice
fun
little,
little nod to it. There's a nice little
yeah.
Easter egg hidden in there. And also, things get very psychedelic also in this very
Mm.
60s in a different way. The 60s is more than just Doctor Who. As much as we like to think it is purely that, there's a lot of other things going on. And this sort of plays into the more psychedelic side of things that the TV series never quite touched, at least not until the 70s.
Yes. The Outliers is my personal favorite Second Doctor early adventure. And I think the next one's your favorite, I want to say, which is Wreck of the
Very
World.
possibly. Yeah, I don't. Thing is, there's so many good ones. You say, oh, this one's my favorite, but then you think, oh, there's another two here that I might enjoy more, but maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, Wreck of the World. It's a brilliant story. Very atmospheric again. I mean, it's sort of doing your Ark in Space style story of, there's this great repository of human life, knowledge, and humans themselves cryogenically frozen that's gone out into space, but oops, something's gone wrong. Alarm clock didn't go off. It's now a wreck hanging in like interstellar space, and it's wonderful how that's portrayed, like through both writing of the prose, the narration, and also what the characters say, how they describe it as well, how they're in just a black void, really, with the occasional light in the distance. And I think that sets it up to be very spooky, very cosmic horror. The
Very much like
threat in this,
Oxygen, isn't it? With like the
Mm,
zombies and in like the spacesuits and all that kind of thing.
yeah, the threat in this one is very true to another 60s villain, but with its own twist on it. Uh, Yeah, I really do love this story. And the music as well sets the scene wonderfully. It's something special, this one. Another one to recommend, really, which is why it's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drifting into a very special release now. Uh this one isn't quite on sale in the same way as the others. The others are all available for download at 7.49 on CD or 5.49 on download if the CD is out of print, which for most of those early ones it is. Um, but for these last ones, uh, you don't get the download as an option in the sale. It's just the physical, and that's only got a little bit of money knocked off as well. It's sort of down to download price of
Mhm.
$10.99.
But you'll still get
Or,
the download if you get it physically.
yeah,
So
you do still get the downloads, but these are going out of print. So if you want to pick them up while the CDs are around, it's certainly worth doing. And if you get a little bit of money knocked off, even if it's a tiny bit, it
it
still
all helps. It
helps.
all helps.
Yeah. But without further ado, Daughter of the Gods, the fifth anniversary
The
story
what
that
if?
never was. Yeah. It's the second Doctor meeting the first Doctor.
And it's brilliant because it's again in the Daleks master plan sandbox with, what if Katarina hadn't died, and it's the second Doctor sort of teaching the first Doctor that look, you play these rules, you've got to live by, you know, your own rule
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, it's
And
showing how much the Doctor has grown over his travels. Yeah, I think possibly one of the best multi-Doctor stories in any medium. Like,
yes,
particularly with how it brings them together and what it does with them together. it feels far more than just a celebration or let's see how these two get on. There's very much a story reason behind it as well, which is rather moving.
And I think the format with sort of part one being the first Doctor's story, and then
Uh,
part, or was it second Doctor
I think
part
it's the other way around, isn't it?
is
Yeah,
yeah, second
second
Doctor.
Doctor Part 1, first Doctor Part 2, and then them sharing the spotlight for 3 and 4.
It's great how that sort of how their plot threads interconnect and
Yeah,
it
you sort of
becomes
have the
one big
same
story.
episode twice from two perspectives,
Mm.
don't you?
And the Daleks, they're an absolute. You can set there is fear factor in there. You can see why the Daleks are the '60s monster.
Hmm. Yeah. I think also it's wonderful for a multi-Doctor story to feature the first Doctor and not fall into the trap of him. Oh, he's the wise old man
Mm.
character. He must be wiser and older than the other Doctors. When actually he's the youngest. This story neatly remembers that and has the second Doctor be more of the older character. I say mix it up. It should always be like that,
Yes, it should
really.
be
But
really, yeah.
it's just the quirky nature of Doctor Who during those celebratory times.
And because we're quite quirky, we can't stop recommending. But this is the last
No.
recommendation,
Yeah.
which is The Secrets of Detsen, which is the last early adventure
Hmm.
released.
Sadly, the range
It,
seems to have come to an end now.
Mhm.
But what a way to go out.
This is a prequel to The Abominable Snowmen, and
Hmm.
it's such a brilliant, cozy listen. The world building, I think we can say it through all of these stories. The world building's fantastic. The
Yeah.
narration really enhances the stories, and this one in particular.
Hmm.
Um,
It's the first appearance of Lauren Cornelius as Dodo, who, of course, has gone on to play that role alongside Stephen Noonan throughout the first Doctor Adventures range that's going on at the moment.
yes,
And she gets off to a wonderful start here alongside Peter Purvis. Uh, I think, funnily enough, I enjoy this story more when it is more character driven and world building than when the plot gets going. Like, it's
Hmm.
quite slow at first. It's a long
It's
one,
a pilgrimage, isn't
very
it?
60s. Yeah, it's taking you on that journey, and it's almost more enjoyable before the plot gets going in the second half. Not that I have anything against the second half at all. I think there's a lot to enjoy there. But I just think it's funny how much I'm enjoying this story when arguably not much is happening.
Hmm.
But you're just enjoying the characters and their company and the interactions there. I think all that comes together rather wonderfully in The Secrets of Death Sen.
Yeah, I did do a review on it when it first came out. So again, if you want to know full thoughts on Secret of Jetson, check out the review of that.
Mm. It is another one that sadly doesn't have too much money knocked off. It is $12.99 for CD and download. But as we say, it's going out of print. So if you want it physical, now's your chance while it's got a bit of money knocked off. So yeah, I mean, we could go on recommending these
The whole
all
range,
day,
pretty
really.
much.
There's
Yeah,
so
we love
many
it.
gems. There are certainly a few more that we wanted to include on here, but we were like, nah, we've got to hold ourselves back. Maybe we should have held ourselves back a bit more, but
Yes, we should have.
it's too late now. You've got a lot of wonderful recommendations to choose from. And hopefully we've differentiated them enough as well. You know, we've not just gone, oh, this is good, pick up this. We've gone, this is good because it does this and this.
Mhm.
While this is good because it does this. So, you know,
There's a flavour of every aspect of '60s Doctor Who.
yeah, depending on what you're looking for, hopefully we've steered you in the right direction there. Yeah. And I don't think you'll go wrong with any of these.
No, they're all good stories. They're perfect. Sit back and just get engrossed in the world that is provided.
Mm. And yet, the narration helps so much with that. I think it is a shame that there isn't more of this range, purely because it's the only one of its kind, really, with that uh, third person narration that harkens back to those missing episode soundtracks but in a way that really does enhance it and set the scene, build the world. It feels so appropriately 60s.
And what better note to end this video on?
Well, thank
Um,
you very much. I'll try my best.
he does try. He does come up with some absolute crackers and corkers, and I think this is one of
Here's
them.
another one for you.
Oh, go
Don't
on.
forget to like and subscribe.
That's the main one. That's the main one. So
And comment down below what you think of the early adventures. If you've checked any out. If you haven't, let us know if we've tempted you.
hopefully we have. Hopefully there's at
Fingers
least
crossed.
one.
I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great range, hidden gem in the Big Finish catalog, and it's always good to celebrate the underdogs. And hopefully we've done that for you.
Mm. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.